Alright, what it do, MoneOnDaBeat with the one and only Schoon.
Yes, sir.
And you already know what we doing. Today, we're going to be talking about our latest song we just dropped, which is the first installment for our Portraits of Relevant Nature series. And the first song was Polygamy, man.
No doubt.
And the funny thing about this song is we did this song 3 years ago. We did this beat about 3 years ago. And this is the first one we dropped it. It's very dearest to me. This is like really like the sound that I really cherish. This is like me and Schoon's real sound, like our official sound that we created just for what we doing here. It's a variation of a lot of different things. A lot of different things we like. The breaks, the leads, the trombone. It takes you on a roller coaster. The song really came to me at a point in time where it was kind of like I was like going through a lot of different stuff with a lot of different women. And you know, if you don't know, a lot of music and your best music comes from heartbreak. It can even come from happiness, but that trauma that you feel or that confusion, that emotional state that you in, it helps breed genius ideas, genius lyrics.
No doubt.
I don't know, like when we was creating this, it was like, it was specific sounds, specific rhythms, and specific vibes that we were going for. So on this one, we just about to show y'all how we broke down the beat, what we used, and we gonna get into it. We about to show y'all how we cooked up Polygamy. Boom. First sound we used, this was kind of like a crystal-y type of synthy pad. And you know, this sound kind of like put a little bit of shivers up my back and it had my mind thinking. It kind of puts you in the daze. Let's hear it, Schoon, real quick. Keep it going. So that right there was kind of like, that's how we brought it in. Now on the bottom of that, we had put a bass line. So let me bring this out. Let me
Upright bass too, though.
Upright, and that was probably,
we was going back and forth.
that was Schooney's idea. Upright, and I ain't gonna lie, that was the perfect bass to use because I don't know. The upright always has something to it.
I agree, bro.
You know what I mean?
And it still got a good low end to
And
it.
it has a good low end. So let them hear with the upright. This is what the upright sound like.
Okay. So.
Upright give you that clean hits. So this is what it sound. This is the upright on the little synthy crystallized sound, and you're gonna get a storytelling, reminiscent vibe from it. So this is what it was. 1, 2, and go.
Thank you.
So that was the upright bass. Now we added a string at the end, and this was kind of like our little run. Y'all heard it right there, but let them hear that string real quick, Schoon. Now, Schoon, this was your idea. Where did this string come from? Like, what was the idea behind the string?
I mean, basically, when you was explaining to me the nature of the song and the ups and downs of it, I thought it needed like a real, something quirky.
But where does that comes from a specific era? Where would you say that come from?
I mean, you can hear it in the 80s and 90s.
Exactly.
You know, especially the late 80s, early 90s.
It was definitely 80s, 90s. Let's hear it.
Okay. So just put the modulator on. And Mone loved it.
It was just crazy. So if you hear everything kind of like go together, this is what you're gonna hear. This is the bass and that intro sound with the string. So this is what it sounds like. And that string gives you impact. So the words that I was saying on the actual song, it gave it more of an inciting feeling to hear, you know what I mean? So this is what it was. Let's see how that string sound at the end so we can show them what we was talking about.
Okay.
All right. It has a storytelling vibe. Like, you know what I mean?
Right here.
And then we did one on the 4 and then we did one on the 8. And this is on. You feel? So it's like all of that just put me in a perspective where it was like, all right, I gotta really talk to him on this one. So that's where that part of the beat came in at. So you know we love to start with the chords. I love to start with the chords because the chords inflict emotion. Now, we're using the synth master, and that's a dope plugin. And there was this chordy sound that was on the synth master that we used to give off this feeling that we was trying to inflict. And you know, I was telling a story about how I treated a girl bad, and you know, she came back and did me dirty. And this sound was the perfect sound. So let's hear this sound right.
I bet.
That made me feel one more time. So you got one more time.
Alright.
You feel how that make you want to say something to somebody? So I was talking to somebody when this was going on, right? And then we put a bass line on the bottom of that. And the bass line for this was the bass line for the actual intro when we did the intro. So the bass line, just a simple bass line, and it was the boom, 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 boom. So on the bottom of this together, this is what you got. 1, 2, and go. Alright, now because this was a song where different levels of the song was talking about a different part of the situation, we wanted everything to swap up. So the first 8 was kind of like using kind of like this emptiness and like these synthy crystallized sounds. And then when we got to like the 24th bar, we opened it up. And whenever you open up a track, you want to use strings, leads, stuff that makes it blossom open. So what we did, we used our favorite pad,
yep.
And then we used our favorite lead, and this is what it sounded like. So Schoon, what do you call those type of chords? What are those chords called?
I mean, we call them opens, but they basically just 7/9 and 11 chords. 7/9
and 11 chords are my favorite feel-good chords. They always make you feel it right here. So once we did that, we had put a lead on top of it. Now the lead, what the lead does, the lead builds everything up. The lead takes you to another place, and it also inflicts emotion. So the lead was like this. Right, Schoon? 1, 2, and go. When you bring that in right after the first part that we did, this is what you sound. This is what it sound like. I'm telling them how I'm feeling right here, you know? String emotion. Inflicted emotion right there. Inflict emotion again. Now you open it up. It's opening up. You're really talking to them at this point. And you bring the string back in. That lead is making you feel it in your chest. You know what I'm saying? Whenever you building upon a situation and you talking about a situation, each part of the beat, it could be each 8, it could be each 16, each part of the beat, you want to change to represent that emotion that you're feeling. So on this part, we added just a simple arcade, but we kind of like went back to the regular loop. And for that part, we just gonna play it out. That right there is just a simple. That right there is just a simple arcade patch that we just had going. I'm gonna take everything out so you can hear it. Now, the one thing with this, we added some toms to this, some floor tom. So this is the last part before it actually broke down into the breakdown. And whenever you about to come into a heavier part of a beat or break down to a drop or anything like that, you want to create some sort of transitional instrument that goes into it. Now, the instrument we used for transition on this one was more of like a drum, and it was toms. Toms. And this is how I put them in there. It's rising, it's at its peak. It started simple, now it's rising. These toms is gonna be the transition into the break. And when you do that, it breaks down. And the breakdown that we use, listen, here it go. I'm gonna start it again. We're gonna do it one more time and you're gonna see how I break down. Remember, this is the peak. It went from simple and now it's rising. Just the times. Break. Now, that was our climax. So it started slow, it built all the way up to its peak, and the toms was the transition into kind of like the eruption of the break. You know what I mean? So that, and even doing that, it was simple. It's just some simple drum work right there. That's all that we did on that part. So now that I got that right there, let me show y'all how we did that right quick. So let me take everything out. Now that we got that in there, we wanted to take it to the limit. And when you take it to the limit, you combine multiple sounds. You combine
brass, synth, lead, choir, bass.
all of those combined gives you that big that big eruption before it kind of like breaks off into something else. So let's do it. First sound we added to this was the pad. Puts you in a certain vibe, it puts a warmth on you, but it also makes you feel it. So this is what the pads sound like. 1, 2, and go. Now with the pad, we then start building on top of the pad. The more you build, the more you stack, the more intense, the more feeling you're gonna get in that. So we then put a piano on there. So if you were to put we put a simple piano on there, and the piano is just hitting for real. Using the same chords. Let's go. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, go. Now that we had the string and the piano playing together, that created a little space. So what we did, and you got to be more creative when you're doing these type of things because you want it to be interesting to listen to. So the first 2 bars, we had that play. But then we brought in the intensity with a brass. So that plays and then it hits to another brass, and that makes it like build even higher. So this is what it sounds like with the brass, with what we already have. Alright, now the brass. One more. You hear I brought it up a little bit? Feel it again. And you know, if it wasn't for Schoon to the Moon, none of this would possible. Also, Schoon, when it comes to a lot of these complicated patterns, Schoon really headlines a lot of these things because he's kind of well versed in what works well because he has a lot of band knowledge from one, playing a lot of instruments and also being a band conductor for many different people, putting together bands and playing with a lot of celebrities that y'all don't even really know. That y'all don't know that he does. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna add the synth lead. The synth lead was the cherry on top. And the cherry on top, the synth lead was a lead that we don't use a lot, but it's one of them big boy leads. Let me hear that. Is that the lead? Yeah. Now this was different. This was different, and I know I do a lot of play everything on the spots, but with this particular lead and all this that was going on, Schoon more so came up with a lot of these because these are more so complex lines that was pretty ingenious, and these breaks they fit well with these breaks. So, pad, piano, we just added the brass, and now the lead was the cherry on top, and the lead went like this. When you hear everything all together for that part, this is what it sounds like. Now after that part, it broke out into the part everybody loves, which is the breakdown. This is a new sound called a Mr. Moan sound. Now this is a different type of trap. I call it smooth trap. That's why we call it Mr. Moan, because I'm smooth. And then simple beat, I laid the highs was simple. I added some sices here and there. And once I got added the sices and everything was in there, the actual beat was this. Then what we did was we added our famous string to it. And our famous string, we're going to go back to it. It didn't change. Well, it did change, or did it?
You wanted the progression to change. Went on, you know.
Okay, so it did change. This was the string sound like on top. ninths, 11ths, 10ths, 12ths.
These are nice. You put your diminish in there. You wanted to diminish.
Yeah, I love the diminish, so I love that. And on top of that, we just added a bass that was just hitting, and we was using the same keys and the same note, and it just. Yeah, I got that bop to it.
Ah, the chord is holding.
This is what it sounds like with the strings on top of the drums. All it needed now is some bass. So we're gonna put some 808 on there. So this was with the 8 on there. This is the 8 I use right here too. So let's crank it. So after that was kind of like our main groove. We brought in 2 different sounds as that was playing to end out the song before it breaks down again. Now the first thing we did, we added a piano. Now the piano was just simple chops. Now I come from the my parents are Caribbean, so I'm so stuck on the Caribbean culture. And the chops that we put on here were just basic Caribbean chops. Now I know you're probably thinking like, what's a Caribbean chop? It's just a simple reggae chop. And the reggae chop is simple. Give me the reggae chop, Spoon. That's a reggae chop. But what we did was, we kind of placed it in a different way, right? Mm-hmm. So the way we placed it, we didn't place it on the typical reggae chop. We placed it a little bit behind. So I'm gonna show you what the typical reggae chop would be. This is a typical reggae chop. Do this good. You already know the typical. Bum, 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 bum. Hit it real quick. Bum, bum. But we didn't do that. We put it behind. So bum, 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 bum. We put it like that. 1, 2, and go. No typical reggae chop. Different reggae chop. And he put a nice little run on there. So now we had that on there, right? Now when we put that on there, that kind of just, mind you, as this part came in, I'm now sing-jang a style. So in the beginning, my heart is hurting. I'm explaining how this chick made me feel. You carried me, I carried you. But now you brought me into this new world, this new person of me wanting to explore multiple women because I'm scorned and I'm hurt. So this is me kind of getting wavy on the track. That's why you got the smooth pad. That's why you got the chops. It's me getting, I'm fly. You know what I'm saying? I'm feeling myself. I'm on some fly stuff. So that's where that come in. But then we want to put a sparkle on top. Ba-na-na-na-na. Now watch this. Give me some sparkles, fool. There you go. That's kind of like letting you know. Cherry on top. Then I'm fly. One more to end it out. One more, son. Now, the very last sound that we added on here, and this comes from the Caribbean tradition as well, specifically Jamaica, they have a lot of trumpet lines. And when I was hearing that thing bump like that, I was like, damn, we need to put like a trumpet line on there. A trombone line, a trumpet line. And then I was like, what can we put on there? And I started thinking to myself, know what I'm saying? But I mean, these are some of the lines that I came up with, and we gonna let you hear it how it sounds. Cause me saying it and having it heard is two different things. So, what they call me, school?
Trombone moan.
Trombone moan. So this is how I broke in. Now the last break, we did something crazy. Now I told you we was exercising a lot on this track. So the break for this one was drum work. You got the drum work first. I love breaks. So this break went like. All right, let's hear it play back. Now, in between that little pause, it was like a little hi-hat. We're going to put the hi-hat back right there. All right, let's hear it with the hi-hat. Now, to enhance this, we put a brass on there because the brass and hits always make something sound triumphant and make it sound like it's rising. It sounds something like this. 1, 2, and go. So that right there, from the beginning, rising up to the first break, going into the trap, ending with the last break, that's kind of like the emotional roller coaster that, you know, dealing with multiple chicks and dealing with heartbreak puts you through. Other thing it puts you through is staying in your house, in your room, not wanting to do anything, just thinking about, just thinking. Yeah, really. You know, because, you know, sometimes us men, we act so macho, but we get hurt too, and we get emotional. No. And when we get emotional, you know, it's almost like you want somebody to play to you so you could talk. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, Schoon, we need to talk at the end. We need kind of like we need a solo. So Schoon put a solo on the end of this just to add the real cherry on top. Give him a taste of what that solo would sound like, Schoon. All right.
I mean, you know, Moon like chords, so we was just messing around, and this is what I came up with. He green lighted it.
Let's see.
Can't stretch like I want to, but that's what it was.
So that was the making of Soul Polygamy, where we coming from, all the breaks, all the intricate stuff we use, and you know, our thought process behind the track. This was one of our most complex tracks because I'm not really like a simple person. I might do simple melodies and stuff like that for the pleasure of others, but me coming out is more so to let people know like, yo, I'm really on this time for real. But, you know, I'm going to come back in the playground and play around with y'all. And that's not being cocky. That's just me letting y'all know that we're very musically advanced. And sometimes being musically advanced can go over people's head. And that's why we have different parts that can cater to different crowds, different ages in this whole track. But, you know, tuning into us, you're going to see, like, we're not worried about what people think. We're not worried about, like, what people hear or want to hear. We're worried about inspiring y'all and inspiring people to do what they want to do and set the trend, because we trendsetters and we want y'all to be trendsetters. It's not about following, it's about setting a trend so others can follow and you inspire the world like that. You feel me? MoneOnDaBeat, Schoon.
No doubt, bro.
That was Soul Polygamy. That's part one of many to come. Behind the scenes, you already know. Stay tuned. Cloud up next. Boom!